Hi, everyone. I'm Tiffany Schultz. I'm the undergraduate marketing manager for Forte Foundation. Thank you so much all for joining us for this amazing LinkedIn Live. I'd like to introduce you to today's hosts for building a standout LinkedIn profile, Haley and Sarah from Wasserman Center for Career Development at NYU. So I'll hold it over to you.
Thanks, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. We are Haley and Sarah. We're really excited to be your hosts for today's Forte LinkedIn Live event. We know that you're here because you know how important it is to build a strong LinkedIn profile, recognizing that LinkedIn is often a really important part of the job search and a great opportunity to showcase your skills and experiences to future employers. Studies have shown that many employers do research candidates before hiring, and having a professional and standout LinkedIn profile really does go a long way. Additionally, many recruiters use LinkedIn to identify potential talent. So making sure that your profile is showcasing all of the skills that you want to stand out is super important. Before we dive into today's topic a little further, let us tell you a little about our backgrounds. So again, my name is Haley Garofalo. I use she, her pronouns. I am a senior assistant director at the NYU Wasserman Center for Career Development. I've been at the Wasserman Center for about 5 years, working closely with students to help them get hired by employers across industries, as well as working with employers to understand what they're looking for in candidates. So a lot of the work that I do is understanding the needs of both the hiring managers and the talent, and being able to help provide information to have that all come together. So I will pass that on to Sarah to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Rosenthal. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Associate Director of Experiential Learning Programs, also at the NYU Wasserman Center. Since we're talking about how long we've been here, I have been at Wasserman for 9 years, which is insane to think about. But even though I've been in higher ed for a really long time, I previously had some experience also in business development and sales. So I know that, sometimes when you're looking to make a shift in your career trajectory, that using LinkedIn to highlight your transferable skills and whatnot is going to be really valuable. So before we dive into our presentation, I also wanted to encourage you to pull up another tab and actually pull up your profile so that you can take a look at what you have on there and jot down notes for things that you might be able to do on your profile after this presentation. So when it comes to your LinkedIn profile, the very first thing that people are going to notice is going to be your photo. You'll see here there's a stat. All of the stats on our slides come directly from LinkedIn. So profiles with photos tend to get 21 times more views. So that's a huge number, and definitely something that you don't want to leave blank. You want to make sure that the photo is just a picture of you, not you and a few other friends, you and a pet. Although, I guess if you're interested in being a vet, a pet might make sense. But besides that, you want it to really just be a picture of you, and ask for help. You don't want to take a selfie, but, have a friend go on portrait mode and take a picture of you to, sort of have this like neutral blurred background. And just as a note that, if you're taking a picture outside, try not to wear sunglasses. People want to be able to see your face. They want to be able to feel like if they were approaching you for an interview, or if they were to meet you at a networking event, that they're seeing the same version of you in the picture that they would see in those settings. So, putting out this sort of, friendly, approachable picture is going to really help get that there. You want to also think about what you're wearing in the picture. It should be an appropriate attire for the industry. So if you're looking to go into an industry that tends to have more, professional expectations, maybe wearing a suit versus somewhere where you might be more, business casual and things like that. So just keeping in mind, do you want to make sure you're wearing a jacket versus something that's a little more casual? The last is, you want to sort of take up about 60% of the frame. I know that seems like incredibly specific, but you do want the picture to be mostly you, while still having this contrast of that like neutral background. So just because it was fun, Haley and I actually went through and took a look at our headshots, and sort of wanted to pull together some, do's and don'ts. So you can see the pictures on the left are the do. So you can see these sort of neutral or blurred out backgrounds. We're smiling in the pictures. You can see, all of us. I actually think that, this sort of follows the sort of picture that you need for like a license, where you can see your entire face, and just sort of has like your bust basically. So that is sort of on the do side of things. And then do not, these pictures that don't really let somebody see your face, or are a little more casual, maybe something that would show up on other social media. But LinkedIn really is a unique platform in that it is this professional setting. So just some things to keep in mind when it comes to your photo. Next is your headline. So we actually wanted to start with photo and headline because these are the things that show up when somebody's just doing a LinkedIn search, right? So people are going to be able to see these things before they get into your profile and read, your summary and your experience. So your headline is sort of about what is your personal brand. It's going to be much shorter. Haley will talk in a minute about your summary, which is a much longer description, but your headline is really, like I said, that, first impression, things that you want to take advantage of since you only have, I think, 220 characters is you want to make sure that beyond just saying like, oh, I'm a student or I have this position, be creative, use this as a way to include industry specific keywords or phrases. Consider, your audience. These are potentially recruiters, potentially future supervisors. So having a job title as well as things like skills or certificates and achievements are really valuable. So you can see down here, we have an example, two examples where, one starts with like, what is your desired position? What type of skills do you have and what industry you're looking for? Another way to approach this is using that like vertical line to separate all of those things where you list what is your current role, some of the skills or, an area of expertise that you have, and, including an achievement, something that you're really proud of having accomplished. So the headline is that sort of attention grabbing branding that you're creating for yourself. So think about ways that you can do more with that section. So now I'll kick it over to Haley to talk about the summary.
Thanks, Sarah. So as Sarah mentioned, the summary is a bit of a longer section where you have a little bit more room to showcase yourself and really explain to people who you are, what you're looking for, and bring all of your experiences together to tell your story. It's the about section on your profile. It's usually about 2,600 characters maximum, where you can give an overview of your professional life. So this is a really great opportunity if you have experiences across different industries or different types of roles, and you really want to allow a future employer to understand how all of your experiences have come together and how they can make sense and really make you a unique candidate for a future role. This is a great way to do that and tell your story. It's kind of like your online elevator pitch, if you think of it that way. It can include a wide variety of a combination of your experience, skills, interests, passions. It's kind of up to you, but it is the number one thing that recruiters look at when viewing profiles. It's right there at the top. It gives the recruiters a really good understanding of who you are, what you want to highlight about your experiences, and what you're looking for, given that they may not have the time to scroll through your entire profile. This is a great place for them to go. In order to enhance your summary, some suggestions are to use numbers to showcase success and scope of some of your main career achievements, like you might do on your resume. You can highlight the specific transferable skills that you want to stand out. I usually recommend choosing like the 3 or 4 skills that you really want them to know that you have, as opposed to, we'll talk about later, listing skills elsewhere on your profile. And again, describing how all of your experiences and interests intersect. you might be a really strong, unique candidate for certain roles because of the different ways in which your experiences have aligned with each other or provided you with unique set of skills and background that maybe not everyone has. So this is a really good opportunity to be able to showcase that. Sarah?
So next is going to be work and education. And you can see here again from LinkedIn that profiles with 2 or more positions are up to 36 times more likely to be found by recruiters. So, really something that we're, trying to get at is fill out your LinkedIn profile, right? You don't want to just have, your name, that you're a student somewhere, and that's it. The more information you put on your profile, the more likely people are to find you. So the types of positions you can put under work can include internships, jobs, even things like volunteering. There's lots of different sections that we'll talk about later that you can include. But, the reason that we mention these under work is because a lot of the time people think, oh, work, that means it needs to be a paid job. And that's not necessarily the case. Anything that was a really robust experience that is relevant to what you're thinking about applying to, those are things to put into that work experience section. Even if it was volunteering, it does not diminish the experience. And if it is incredibly relevant to what you're applying for in the future, that's something that you want to have on there. In the description, you can talk about what you've accomplished, again, including results and numbers, and showing that impact. A bonus of something you can do with work that can differ from, your resume, where maybe you already have this stuff on your resume somewhere, descriptions of what you did, all of your bullet points. But a bonus for LinkedIn that is not limited to just a page or 2 is that you can actually attach like media. So that could be a video or a presentation. It can link out to a website. So those are really great ways to make your LinkedIn profile a little more engaging. When it comes to education, you're going to obviously include your school, your degree and major. Things that you can add in include things like honors and awards or extracurricular activities. But again, sort of this bonus, and these actually are separate sections in LinkedIn that you can include are things like research, projects, courses, and publications. But if you don't want a separate section for that on LinkedIn, you can just put it under your education.
Great. So following up on what Sarah was sharing, your more traditional work experiences are not the only ones that count in terms of showcasing future employers that you have the transferable skills that they're looking for. So some of the other sections on LinkedIn that you can utilize including academic projects, languages, certificates, organizations, publications, volunteering. So a wide variety of different opportunities are available to you. The way you want to prioritize which experiences to include is thinking about which experiences have allowed you to gain the skills that are most relevant to the career path that you're looking to pursue. But I think it really shows that you're able to have all of these experiences beyond maybe what's on your resume, that you have experience working in a lot of different types of settings with different people. Maybe there's more room here to showcase some of your more personal passions and interests, like Sarah was saying, adding your website or portfolio or whatever the case might be. I think that there's a common misconception that it needs to be a really formal work experience in order for it to be count or for employers to be interested in it. And I personally do not believe that that is the case. So just wanted to encourage you to kind of think broadly about all of the experiences, even conferences you've attended or other types of professional development opportunities. I think that showcases that you have committed to your professional development and career development in a wide variety of ways that employers would really like to see. So encourage you to think outside the box.
So the sort of last big section that we wanted to talk about is related to your skills. And this is a really important one because it's actually part of the algorithm. When recruiters are searching for potential talent, these are the things that they're looking for. So they're putting in, what types of skills they're looking for. So it's actually really important to make sure you have a mix of, industry specific skills, technical skills, languages, and soft skills. So some something that's a little different from your resume, where maybe you've been told to focus just on hard skills. Soft skills are okay to include in the skills section of your LinkedIn profile. And you want to have multiple iterations of that. So like if you're interested in software development, you don't just want software development on LinkedIn. You want to also mention web development, full stack development, front end, right? You want to make sure you have a bunch of different iterations of it, since you don't know what terms the recruiters might be searching for. So the more you can have on there in different iterations, the better. I know Haley also mentioned earlier that language is a section you can have. You want to include language proficiency whenever you can, give people a sense of, is this more of a conversational skill, or do you actually have the big business, acumen in that language? Lastly is that you can select the top 3 skills that you want to actually show on your profile before they click to see what other skills are there. It's going to default to the 3 skills that are most endorsed, but if you want to select different ones, that's something that you're able to do when you go into that skill section on LinkedIn.
Great. So now that you have all these skills on your profile, often these skills can align with the specific jobs that you're applying to. So this is a screenshot that we took directly from a job posting on LinkedIn. Not every, but most job postings on LinkedIn now have a set of skills attached to the actual job posting that are showcasing what the employer is looking for specifically. And if you scroll down on the job posting, you'll see which of the skills on your profile align or match with the job, and then which ones are missing. From there, you can add certain additional skills. If you find that some of the missing ones you do have experience with, you can add them directly through there. And then the employers on the other end will be able to see which profiles or candidates match the skills that they're looking for. So highly encourage you to do this. I do think that the algorithm does go a long way. And so wanting to make sure that you're able to align with the types of jobs. I believe that you're able to have almost up to 50 skills or something along those lines on your LinkedIn profile. So there's a lot of opportunity to showcase a wide variety of different opportunities that you have there. In addition to this, there are a ton of external AI softwares that are available across the internet that allow you to access the effectiveness or assess the effectiveness of your profile, where you can kind of optimize your profile, see how it aligns with specific job descriptions, do some testing around that. So those are available to you as well if you wanted to do some searching. Additionally, your profile is most effective when other people are able to find it easily. So creating a customized user URL is allowing you to easily share it so that people can search you on the internet, find you really easily. You can share your LinkedIn, put it on your resume, or sharing it with people in a way that's most easy for them to find. Their public profile and URL section is right under your profile language on your profile section if you're looking at it. Typically it's some version of your name, but you can be a little creative if you want to, but I wouldn't vary too much away from something similar to your name. Again, you can put this on your business card, resume, email signature, wherever you find it to be effective.
So I know today was about like how to really beef up your LinkedIn profile. So we didn't talk too much about this, but we wanted to just remind everyone that, you're not doing this in a bubble. There's so much more that you can do on LinkedIn. So, you can connect with peers, coworkers, supervisors. Don't think that you are set, with just people that, you've worked with. It could be classmates or professors even. There's also a really great tool that allows you to search for alumni on LinkedIn. So if you go to a school page for a school that you went to, you can check out the alumni who have graduated from, your school, even search by location that they're at, company that they're working for, the degree that they have, what their major was. So that's a really great way to connect with people with similar experiences. You can follow companies that you're interested in or join groups, and groups can be a really great way to find people, again, with similar experiences, whether it's, based on identity, based on location, based on industry. So there's so much great stuff in there. Conducting informational interviews is a great use of all of the connections that your developing through LinkedIn. And of course, it goes without saying that you can apply to jobs as well. So now we're going to open it up for questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, you guys, for this amazing presentation. I learned so much myself, and I can't wait to update my own personal LinkedIn. Uh, we can start off with questions. If you do have any, please feel free to add them into the chat box, but we do have a couple to get started. How can I ask someone to provide me with a skill endorsement?
I'll take that since I'm unmuted. So you can actually go into LinkedIn and ask people to endorse you for a skill. But I would say, especially if you're in a current position, going to a supervisor and asking them, hey, I'm trying to beef up, my LinkedIn profile. Would you mind going in and endorsing me for a skill, or even writing me a recommendation? That's another section we didn't even talk much about, that you can actually ask people to write you a recommendation, and that will then show up on your profile as well. So, don't be afraid to go to people who can really vouch for your knowledge of a certain skill. I think that that's a really helpful way for you to also get some feedback from people on, are these the right skills? Am I articulating this, the right way? Because ultimately, if you're in an internship or a job or something where, they're in the right industry, they're going to be able to really tell you, like, oh, don't forget to also put this skill on there. Or I saw that you wrote it this way, but you might want to also, add in another iteration of that skill using it this way.
Awesome. Yeah, great answer. It looks like we did have a question come in. Are there any new trends/uses recommended for the featured section?
Great question. Sarah, do you know of any new trends?
I mean, I think that, it's always tricky to stay ahead of like every trend. But I think that when it comes to, LinkedIn, they're also trying to figure out right now how to use AI as effectively as possible. So, I think that what we've talked about today is really what we see as, the primary things you want to be updating, on your LinkedIn. So I forget everything that you can do in featured. But I would say that that's like a really great question. Also for people who are familiar with your experience, and definitely also great for a career coach at whatever school you go to.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we're getting more questions in. Is there a way to make my LinkedIn profile more searchable or visible to all?
I think that comes down to like your privacy settings, but also, again, that's why I mentioned the URL component. So having your customized URL, your specific name, will make you a little bit more searchable when thinking about like different search engine optimization. You really want as much as possible to have your name in that profile. So if anyone's searching you, that will be coming up. The more that you're using it actively, the higher it'll kind of bump on the page on Google or one of the searching platforms. So making sure that you're like actively using your profile and engaging with LinkedIn does help with that as well. Anything else you can think of, Sarah?
Yeah, actually, I also wanted to mention, so Sarah Rosenthal is like a pretty popular name. So if you just like Google my name, I do not come up right away. So I actually use my middle initial on my LinkedIn profile and in a lot of other sort of professional, settings, in order to distinguish myself as me and not somebody else. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind, especially like when it comes to URL, I have, that initial in there, as well as like on my actual like name in the header. And I think the other thing is, I know it's hard when you're first getting started out, but the more connections you have, the more likely you are to also show up in a search, right? If you're kind of not doing much with your profile, to Haley's point, it might not show up right away, especially if they're searching through LinkedIn. So definitely something to also just keep in mind is that the more you use it, the more it'll be able to recommend you the right types of jobs and connections, and the more likely you are to show up in a search.
Great answer. Awesome. I know we're running out of time. We just have 2 questions left. The first one is, I've seen students describe themselves in their summary using first or third person point of view. Is there a preference?
Nope.
Question. Yeah, I personally write it from a first person, but I think it is just kind of up to whatever, what you feel more comfortable talking about yourself.
Yeah, totally agree. I don't think that there's like a right or wrong. I've seen them both done really effectively. My personal feeling on it is the same as Haley's, that, sort of a first person, or even that kind of like not third person, but also not first person way that you write on a resume, where
Yeah,
you just focus on like action verbs. You're not using the I or me, but you're still talking about yourself, is the best way to go about doing it. Cause I think third person comes across like a little too, I guess like a little not as personal. And LinkedIn, again, like is that opportunity to sort of, be personable.
Mhm.
So you don't want it to seem like you're too separated from, talking about yourself.
True.
No, true. Okay, last question. What is the best way to go about connecting with recruiters on LinkedIn?
Great question. So it depends. Recruiters are all different. Um, the thing to note is that recruiters are getting a lot of messages. So you can do your best to reach out to certain recruiters that you're, finding on companies, often on job postings that'll have a link to a specific recruiter that's hiring for that specific role. You're more than welcome to reach out to them. My personal advice is to ensure that your outreach is as customized as possible and comes with a specific ask. Because if you're just sending the same message to 50 different people, or if you're just sending something kind of vague, the recruiter may not know how to respond and may ignore it. So trying to point out something specific about why you're interested in that role, what your particular question is or ask of the recruiter, will, I think, increase the likelihood of them wanting to respond or engage with you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think the other thing to remember is that, a lot of the time people think of LinkedIn and reaching out to people and networking as a thing that you do when you're looking for something. And that's actually the point, that LinkedIn is not just, and networking in general is not just about like when you're looking for something, but it's part of the long game. It is something that you're constantly doing, whether you're looking for a job or not, as you're making connections, and getting to know people that you might want to work with in the future. So I think that it's also important to remember that, it's not just about reaching out to recruiters for a specific job, because to Haley's point, like they are getting inundated. It's reaching out to recruiters when they don't necessarily have a job posted that you're interested in, but you really want to sort of just get to know them and their organization. So don't always think of it as, oh, this is the person I'm reaching out to because they have this job, but I'm connecting with people on LinkedIn because they're working for a company that I'm really interested in and I want to learn, more about. It's not quite as transactional in that sense, but it can often, like I said, contribute to, the long game of getting into the company that you want to work for.
Yeah. Awesome. Great advice. And I do apologize. We do have one more question if we can sneak it in. I'm trying to position myself for a scholarship. What's the best way to brand my LinkedIn profile for this?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a good one. And not to say like we need a little more information, but I think, a scholarship could mean so many different things. But I think, keeping in mind that whatever the scholarship is, yeah, they might be looking at your LinkedIn, but they're probably more likely to lean on like your actual application materials that are going to be specific to that. So, not to say LinkedIn doesn't matter, but when it comes to scholarships, at least, definitely focus a lot more on strengthening, your actual application, any kind of short answer or, essays that you have to write for that. But I think that's my gut without knowing too much more about it. I don't know if you have a different thought, Haley.
Yeah, no, I agree. It depends on the scholarship, of course, but the way I like to think of it is just like getting a real strong understanding as much as possible through doing research on the scholarship as to what they're looking for, and then trying as much as you can to align your profile and your application to showcase that you have the interests, skill sets, passions, whatever it might be. So really like, that alignment goes a long way, because you can have an amazing LinkedIn profile, but if it has nothing to do with that particular set of qualifications that the scholarship is looking for, it won't be as helpful to you. So yeah, doing some of that matching and aligning, I think, goes a long way.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. It looks like that is our last question. Just as a reminder to everyone, this presentation will be available on the Forte Foundation YouTube page. And with that, I will turn it back over to you guys to close out the session. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. It was really nice being able to chat with you all today and share some of our thoughts on how to make your standout LinkedIn profile. We love partnering with Forte for these LinkedIn Live events. Feel free to connect with Sarah or myself, give us any feedback that you might have, and stay tuned for future Forte opportunities coming forward. It was nice to meet with y'all.